A number of years ago, I was serving on the board of an organization called the Sword of the Lord. At this present time, I don't belong to any boards of any kind. The only thing I hold membership in is the local New Testament church. But we were having a meeting after the death of the editor of the Sword of the Lord, Dr. Curtis Hudson, about who should become the next editor. We decided we would have the meeting at the airport in Nashville, Tennessee, because it was a common location for people to get to. And so the board members all flew in, and we didn't go anywhere. We met in a conference room there at the Nashville airport. There were only 5 of us, if I remember correctly, to begin with. Then we added a 6th member. And one of the men who was on that board of the Sword of the Lord was a well-known pastor, pastoring the largest Baptist church in the world at the time. His name was Dr. Jack Hyles. Dr. Hyles and I had known one another for many, many years. I'd preached with him on numbers of occasions. I'd had him in our church in Patterson, New Jersey, and had invited him to be here in this church. We were sitting there, and we met in that board meeting for 3.5 hours, praying and talking. During the conversation, Dr. Hyles, seated right beside me, turned to me and in a soft, kind voice said, "You know, I've been through it." And he had gone through some personal trials. And I believe that history will record good things of Dr. Hyles in the short term and the long term. And he looked at me squarely in the eyes and he said, "You know, you've never tried to hurt me, but many people have. Many people have tried to hurt me," and they had. He became a target for many people. But then he said to me, "You've never tried to hurt me, but you could have helped me." He said, "It's not easy for me to say that to you," but he said, "You could have helped me. And you didn't. Now, you never deliberately tried to hurt me, but you could have helped me, and you didn't." Now, that conversation was conducted years ago, and I've never been able to escape it. Never have I been able to escape that conversation. I determined when his son-in-law became the pastor of his church, at the very outset of the whole thing, that I'd do all I could to encourage him because of that conversation. And I know he was right. There were things I could have said and done, but I didn't do them. I just thought no involvement would be better than any other course I personally could take. And I'm convinced that that's the way many Christians feel about so much of their Christian life. Look, I'm not causing anybody any trouble. Look, I'm not against this. Look, I'm not living a terrible life and not bringing a reproach. But beloved, we owe a debt. Simply because we have received the gospel, we owe a debt to give the gospel. That means that my so-called omission and neglect is really criminal in nature. Because the Word of God says, "Therefore to him that knoweth to do good doeth it not, to him it's sin." One of the great things that must be disturbed in our lives and in our churches, if we're ever going to know God's full blessing, is that we have to consider the failure of not doing what is right to be as harmful and sinful as going out and doing wrong. Because so much of our Christian neglect is excused.